order the numbers from least to greatest. So we have 0.64, 35/50ths, and 60%. So it's hard to put numbers in order if they're in different formats. So I have a decimal, a fraction, and a percent. I want to make them all the same. I want to put them all, in this case, I'm going to put all of them as fractions. So I have to look at my decimal and figure out what fraction would that be. 0.64, if the 4, since the 4 is in the hundredths place, and you can look at the place value chart over here, the 4 is in the second place after the decimal point, which is the hundredths place, then I can read that decimal as 64 hundredths, which helps me know how to write it as a fraction. So that would just be 64 over 100. Now let's look at this fraction, 35/50ths. It's going to be hard to compare fractions when the denominators are different. So I want to try to get common denominators. The easiest way to do this one is to multiply 35/50ths times some number that would be a giant 1 to get a denominator of 100. So what number would make 50 become 100? What can I multiply 50 by to get 100? It would be 2. So I have to make the numerator 2 as well. Because remember, anytime you multiply any number by 1, you're not changing the value of the number. But in the case of fractions, if you multiply a fraction by a giant 1, it may end up looking different. So 35 times 2 is 70. So 70/100ths is the same as 35/50ths. They just look different. So now I'm going to come back and write that over here. I have 70 over 100. And then remember that percent, the word percent means per 100. Cent means 100. So if I have 60%, I have 60 per 100, or 60 over 100. Now they're easy to organize from least to greatest because they're all in the same format and of fractions, and the fractions have the same denominator. So 60 over 100 would be the smallest. 64 over 100 would be next. And then 70 over 100 would be the greatest. Now I'll do problem number 2 in 8.8. Okay, I have 28/50ths, 30%, and 0.54. So I know that I'm going to end up, because I have a percent here, I'm going to end up with a fraction that has a denominator of 100. So I know I'm going to be turning that 28/50ths into a fraction with 100 at the bottom as the denominator. So I have to multiply that. I have to multiply that 28/50ths times a giant 1. So I want the denominator to become 100. Right now it's 50, so if I multiply it by 2, that'll work. And then 28 times 2 equals 56. So 28/50ths is equivalent to 56/100ths. And 30%, remember percent is per 100, so I have 30 per 100. And then if you look at the decimal 0.54, the 4 is in the hundredths place, so that tells me that it is 54 hundredths. So 54 hundredths. Now I can organize them from least to greatest, so it's 30 over 100. 54 over 100, and 56 over 100. If you are having trouble with any of these ideas, you might Google place value or go into Khan Academy and search around for decimals, percents, and fractions.